Hey, today in this video I wanted to tell you guys how I bought a 2018 Ford Escape Lemon recently and what I plan on doing with it. So without further ado, let's get started. So this past July, my beloved 2009 Pontiac G6 that I owned since 2022 decided that it no longer wanted to provide its services. I was experiencing issues with the wheel bearings, so I had my wife take it to a mechanic while I was at work. They were able to fix the bearings, no problem, but as my wife tries to start the car and leave, she told me that the car wouldn't start up. She had one of the mechanics to see what the problem was, and they determined that the engine was basically done. My wife tries to turn the key out of desperation, hoping the car would start, but nothing. The engine started to smoke even. I was devastated, but it wasn't even all because the engine going out. It was because of the timing of it going out. Literally a day before that shit happened, I took a loan out to pay off my BMW, which I was paying on since 2019, and I paid off my remaining credit card balance that has been annoying me since I don't know when. Like, it was the most debt-free I felt since I was a damn kid, but it was extremely short-lived due to the car going out, which meant having to get another goddamn car note. Like, I knew eventually I was going to need another car just off the fact how much we drove that bitch into the ground. We literally drove it till one of the wheels came off one day when my wife drove on the highway. The BMW I mentioned before hasn't been driven an entire year because it can't pass emissions due to a spindle and some other shit, and currently needs a new battery. So the Pontiac was me and my wife's only car. I initially kind of wanted to blame the mechanics for fucking some shit up when they repaired the wheel bearings, but I really knew it was mostly on me and my wife running it to the ground. For one, the car was already old. When we got it from a guy off Facebook Marketplace, it already had like 218,000 miles on it. When we got rid of it, it had over 277,000 miles on it. So it gave us a good 60,000 of rough miles in a 3-year span. I say rough because our maintenance of the car wasn't the best. We kept up with oil changes and brakes, but that was about it. There were some leaks that needed repair, it needed a new tire sensor, needed alignments, and desperately needed a new rack and pinion. Like, it was extremely difficult turning the wheel. Imagine having your car in park, turned off, trying to make a turn. That's how it was. And the damn engine light came on again after replacing the catalytic converter last year. So we knew it was time to go ahead and put it to rest. It gave us a solid 3 years, especially when you put into account I only paid $1,600 for it and all the wear and tear. I mean, we DoorDashed, Instacarted, and was going back and forth from my job to her job every day. So it really didn't come as a big surprise for real. Like I said, it was just the timing. I wanted at least another 2 months to get us by because I had a plan. And the plan didn't involve me getting a car from a bogus-ass dealer where a bank owns my shit. I wanted to see if I can snag a hidden gem from my old friends up at the Copart auctions. You know, just trying to cut a decent corner and save some cash long term. I wanted to try to snag a newer 2020 and up type of vehicle. But that plan got stopped instantaneously. We needed a car right away. At first, we tried getting a rental for us to have a couple days so we can go car hunting. But all the damn rental places we called were all booked up or just too expensive for my taste. My wife had one of her friends take us to this Dodge Chrysler Jeep dealership in Chicago where we seen a decent lil Jeep Cherokee. They said it needed a lil work, but I was willing to take that on because the car itself was priced at $2,000. It was like a 2016 and it had fairly low miles. But what we seen in person was not what we seen online. The car had front-end damage, a busted window, and it didn't start at all. The disappointment was real, didn't want anything to do with that. So with options and time running low and with desperation running high, we see more car dealerships across the street. The cars were not the best looking or the most current. However, the place was a buy here, pay here place, which I loved the sound of. For those who don't know, a buy here, pay here dealer sells cars primarily straight up for cash. They don't do the whole run your credit to get you a fixed down payment just so you can pay some insane interest rate for like a bogus-ass 80-month term. So me and my wife look around and nothing is seriously catching our eyes. My wife was adamant on trying to get a decent Jeep Cherokee, sorta like the one we seen across the street, but no luck. We seen a Jeep Compass, which we were getting ready to inquire about until one of the workers shows us this 2018 Ford Escape SEL. Now, I'm pretty sure a lot of you car heads know where I'm going with this now just by hearing the word Ford. They say Ford stands for fix or repair daily, but in my case, I got fucked out of real dollars. Damn shame. But yeah, we see this white Ford Escape, and it was in real good condition, especially for it to be a 7-year-old car with 128,000 miles on it. Like, it still had the new car smell, and the tire tread was like factory issued. The only red flag that I witnessed was that it had trouble taking off when I tried starting it up for a test drive. Turns out it was a major red flag, but my overeager ass brushed it off like a dummy. I figured it was like that because it sat for a long time. The test drive actually went great though. The car drove smooth, the brakes stopped on a dime, I heard no weird noises, and all the car's features and functionalities did what they were supposed to do. Me and my wife test drove, and we both felt the car had to come home with us after. I did my final walk around to make sure shit actually did look good, basically like a pre-trip. Everything was properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken, and I see no leaks from the hoses. So now it's time to make this deal. Man, tell me why, when we get back to the car, the engine light pops on before we even take off. So we tell one of the workers to run an OBD test. Another red flag, right? The dude didn't even know where to plug the thing in at. I had to show him, which immediately told me these dudes don't do diagnostic checks on the cars in their inventory. After we finally get it plugged in, we see codes that said something like P303 and P505 or something like that. Honestly, I can't remember the exact codes, but the guy up there said it might have something to do with the gas cap or some other made-up nonsense. I already knew it was something I was going to have to look into myself. We ran it by the owner up there, and he kindly said if the car gave us any trouble to bring it back and they'd have their mechanics take a look at it. We couldn't do it then and there because the mechanics weren't there and they were getting ready to close. So it was already set in my mind that we're bringing the car back the following Monday, no questions asked. But before we did that, curiosity was killing me about that engine light, so I wanted to go to AutoZone to get a free OBD scan. So I'm driving back to Indiana from the Auburn-Gresham neighborhood in the city. Me and my wife are in the car having us a good-ass time, talking about how we got us a good deal, how the car was going to be our forever car, how we're going to go on road trips to the Grand Canyon, and all this cupcake, fairy tale ass shit. That's with the engine light on and all. In the middle of us talking, we see the damn temperature gauge on the dash start rising, and we get a notification saying temperature high, pull over safely or something like that. At this point, we've barely left Chicago. We're on like the Hammond and Chicago border. We keep getting this annoying notification noise, so we pull over at a McDonald's to see what's up. I lift the hood and notice that the coolant looked low, so I figured filling up to its proper level would get us back on track. In the meantime, I figured we'd let the car cool off, and we were hungry anyway, so we stopped inside disgusting Mickey D's and got something to eat real quick before we go to AutoZone. On the way there, we get the notifications again, telling us the car is overheating, which really made me worried because the levels look low, but not low enough to keep getting the notification. Plus, I seen absolutely no leaks under the car. However, the coolant looked like it was moving sort of funny in the reservoir. I started Googling what it could be, and some of the signs pointed to the water pump. But either way, I was worried because we literally just got the damn car. It had us pulling over on the highway trying to wait for it to cool off. We finally get to AutoZone. I get the coolant and OBD reading. We get the same codes but with detail. It said it was going to need a spark plug and a crankshaft. It said there was a misfire in cylinder 2. Nothing too serious, well, at least I thought. I bought the coolant and filled it to the max fill line. What's funny was that I actually ran into a former Ford worker at AutoZone, and he straight up told me the car was shit and I should get my money back. I think he knew what was up the whole time, but ultimately he recommended I have the dealer fix the issues immediately. I tried to remain optimistic through all this stuff. In my head, I figured it was something the dealer was going to take care of without a problem, and I could have a car with no issues for the foreseeable future. Nope, wrong. Fast forward to Monday, I link with Adam, who is the dealer who sold me the car. I get into detail how the car isn't retaining coolant, and I showed him the OBD results. So, they pulled the car to the back of the dealership where two quote-unquote mechanics take a look at it. Well, before I get into the repairs, I should probably add some context. So I got the car on a Saturday. That Saturday night and the following Sunday, I get to doing extensive research on everything because I'm not going to lie, I was scared shitless and afraid I got took. I paid for one of those programs where you can look up VIN numbers. I get to looking up forums on Reddit on the 2018 Escapes. I go on YouTube in regards of the car, and I look up Google reviews on the dealership I got the car from. Bro, when I tell you I wanted to cry like Tyrese Gibson before Shayla turned 18, all the stuff I seen had my head gone. When I ran the VIN, the car had no active recalls or has ever been in an accident, which was cool, but I seen it had bad engine history. Something called coolant intrusion, where the coolant would leak into one of the cylinders. The previous owner had short block repairs previously. I go on Ford subreddit and see how people were completely dogging the Ford Escapes and how terribly flawed the 1.5-liter EcoBoost engines were. People were having the same experience as I was as far as overheating and losing coolant. I go on YouTube and type in 2018 Ford Escape, and all I see is why you should stay away from the 2018 Ford Escape type videos pop up. In depressing fashion, I click on some just to gain some knowledge I should have gotten before I bought the damn car. And I look at reviews on the place I bought the car from. Lord, the place had a 2.8 on Google and like a 1 on Yelp. People were saying how they didn't even have their cars for a full week because of the engine locking up or trans issue. I even seen one where the buyer said the car caught fire because of a wiring issue. Like, the reviews of the dealership had me legit questioning how the place was even a thing. The name of the dealership legit trolls its customers. I bullshit you not. The name of the dealership is 6 Days Auto Sale. The name is a complete troll because you will not be driving the car you bought for more than a week without something messing up. Not to mention you have 5 days to take the car back to get whatever you need looked at and fixed, or else all repairs will be completely on you. Or if you reach 500 miles, it overrides the 5 days. I also seen reviews where buyers would come back to get repairs just for the same or worse issues to occur. So just knowing all this, I had little to no faith that these so-called mechanics would fix what I needed. But to be honest, I had a decent amount of denial in my head. I didn't want to think the engine was done, but it was definitely there in my subconscious mind just based off all the research I've done. It's one of the reasons I had the two bozo mechanics take a look at the car. Let me stop lying. A huge reason I just let them take a look at it was because I wasn't paying for a diagnostic at a real car shop, which I ended up paying for anyway, which I will speak more on in a bit. So yeah, they bring my car around the back and they start working on it. My trust ran bare bones thin. So basically the whole time they're working on it, I'm monitoring them. Like when the supervisor at your job starts being over your shoulder because your production has been slacking. It was that type of thing. The two mechanics spoke no English, so I didn't get the proper transparency on what they were doing. I used Google Translate to communicate with one of them, but it wasn't that efficient. I showed them the AutoZone papers, just like I showed Adam, and he claimed that the spark plug or the crankshaft wasn't an issue. I even asked them, was the water pump damaged like I suspected? And he said no to that as well. So I'm just like, who is lying here? The mechanic claimed it had something to do with one of the hoses and another part I can't remember the name of. So I go ahead and let them do what they do. Most of the time, the jokers just didn't look like they knew what the hell they were doing. As they're working, they're making phone calls as if they were trying to get some help on what they should do. They're pulling out YouTube videos, and they didn't even jack the car up when they worked on it, so they didn't even do a deep inspection. But what got me is that they tried using painter's tape to repair one of the hoses. When I seen that, I questioned them, which made them order a new part. They said this stuff was going to take 6 hours. Adam, the dealer, wanted us to come inside to rest or whatever, but I wasn't going for none of that. The only time I stepped away was when me and my wife went to a Popeyes up the street. This is off topic, but that was probably the best Popeyes I've had in all my 28 years. I had tried that new wrap, which was okay, but my wife had got a 2-piece, 2 sides, and a biscuit, which I tried. The chicken was steaming hot, and the mash and red beans and rice went stupid. They say the best Popeyes are always in crime-infested neighborhoods, and I'm in the Auburn-Gresham neighborhood in the south side, so I guess if you know. But back to the Ford Escape Lemon Edition. So we go back up there and the off the street, we'll work on your car for a Modelo-ass mechanics or just acting like they're doing shit when they were just waiting for the part to come. My wife had to take an Uber back to Indiana to take a test, so it was just me up there waiting for them to get done. It took them so long to bring this part, it was ridiculous. I got to asking Adam what was the holdup. He was a nervous cigarette-smoking wreck. I forgot to mention there were other car buyers coming there in regards to repairs. It was a woman that came pissed looking for Adam. She came on straight 10 like, Adam, bring yo ass. And she had every right to be. I didn't get too much of their conversation, but it sounded like to me that the woman needed another transmission on her car she just bought from this man. Insanity. So he was a nervous wreck and scattered brain, so whatever he told me about the part I couldn't take for face value. But like 45 minutes after I asked, it finally came. It took the mechanics like 25 to 30 minutes to install and put everything in the engine bay where it's supposed to go. I let the car run for a little minute to see if it was going to start leaking. It didn't. I drive off and do a test run around the area a little before I hop on the Dan Ryan to see if I would get any funny notifications or if the engine light would come back on. It didn't. So I figured him decent. I go on to pick my wife up from her test and we go home. I find out she passed her test and the car gave me no issues throughout that process. So again, optimism creeps in and I'm thinking life is sugar and grits. Yeah, okay. The next morning, my wife drops me off at work. Not only do we get to seeing notifications on the fucking dash on the way there, but when we got to Schneider, the bitch gets to leaking like it was the car's time of the month. Never been so mad and depressed. From there, my wife still drives it to work, but she had to refill with coolant and pull over ever so often to let it cool off. So now at this point, I'm basically at the full realization that I got took. However, I went ahead and got a legit mobile mechanic to do a real inspection. Because I really was curious to know what the fuck was wrong with this car. Even after seeing all the shit about how the 1.5-liter engines were junk and how coolant intrusion was basically inevitable. I still wanted to think my car was an anomaly or something, and it might be something else. Yeah, denial had a huge supporting role in all this fuckery. So I get the mobile mechanic to see what was up, and to my surprise, he actually said the engine was fine. Once again, optimism is back. He said it was just going to need a crankshaft, spark plug, and a new coolant tank. It was going to run me around $1,200 for parts and labor, which sounded better than the price of an engine replacement. So I agreed to go through with the repair the next day. But before he gets to committing time and energy for the repair, he took the car on a test drive on a highway next to our house to make absolute sure his diagnosis was accurate. It was, and then some. So when he does this little test drive, he notices that the engine is very weak. The RPMs and the speed was not correlating with each other. He couldn't get over 80 miles per hour. At the time I wasn't there, my wife is telling me all this over the phone in real time while I'm at work. The mechanic determined that the engine was done and it would be no need to proceed with the repairs. Dude, when I got that news over the phone, I wanted to fall down to my knees like Lil Durk and Chirac Imoni. But I ain't gonna lie though, I'm a cheap bastard, so I was low-key happy at the time I ain't have to break that $1,200, but sadly it didn't even matter because that same money went towards a down payment on another car. I for the life of me didn't want to do it, but my hand was played hard considering days of work was getting missed and we blew money on Ubers. The car we ended up getting was basically what we initially was going to get. It's a 2015 Jeep Cherokee with like 88,000 miles on it. It went for like $12,000. I don't want to speak on the interest and all that. Just know the APR is what you would expect in 2025. That non-consensual penetration type stuff. What Biggie say in that One Suspect bar? He say, dudes press they luck in, they get a butt fucking. Straight up the ass raw dog with the rash. It's one of those. So, yeah, I went through all that to avoid paying a car note just to end up having one any damn way. Just your boy's luck, I guess. But as for the Ford, the chronicles aren't over. Denial made one last appearance in this story. I actually take the car to a shop to get a second and final opinion. And this is where I found out that the engine suffered the same fate as all the other bogus-ass 2018 Ford Escapes. The mechanic knew from the jump that the head gasket was fucked when he first brought it into the bay. There was white smoke coming out of the exhaust driving into it. It's crazy because I never noticed it when I drove, but I started seeing it clear as day. Another thing I saw clearly was how there was coolant filled to the brim on like the second cylinder. The mechanic showed me via camera. At this point as well, the car drives hot no matter what you do. That temperature gauge stays on 250. It's all bad. I didn't know if I can even drive the car home. I asked one of the mechanics and he basically said, the engine is already non-repairable due to the gasket, and I couldn't do any worse damage. The car now can't even get over 20 miles per hour. So with this story coming to an end, you know I had to crash out on them dudes up there at 6 Day Auto Sale and got it back in blood because, you know, lanky hustles ain't no punk bitch. You know, I couldn't just go sweet like that, so I drove up there and got to demanding my money back. One of Adam's guys get to talking crazy saying, we ain't giving back shit. I walk up to him, laugh a little bit, next thing you know, bow! Smacked his dumbass. Then his homie tried helping him. But before he got close, I up-pole on Adam. I say, get back before your boss gets turned into a 6-day pack. Adam tells his people to chill. Pole to his back, I had him to take me to the safe, and I straight cleared it. Got my $3,600 and some more shit. Told Adam it was a pleasure doing business with him. And you know he thought he was funny. He says to me, how do you plan to make your escape? I know it won't be because of the Ford. blew me. So I get to letting off like, fa, fa, fa. Got to the whip before the dudes came in and did the dash. Nah, none of that shit happened. Sorry, I had to go Soulja Boy on Vlad TV on y'all one time for the one time. But yeah, I went kind of sweet, I'm not gonna lie. This is what ended up happening. So, I let Adam and his guys know that the engine needs to be replaced. Like the goofy I am, I let them tell me that they were actually gonna go to a shop and get that taken care of for me. So I leave the car there, and I leave with little faith that they're going to get this shit done for me. Like even after I left, I had thought to myself how this wouldn't make any sense for him business-wise. He's not going to spend over $5,000 or $6,000 on repairs when he sold the car for basically the same amount. Remember, I put $3,600 down for it, but the plan was for me to pay $6,000 some dollars in full. If he had to pay for an engine repair, he's breaking even or going negative on this sale. And it turns out I was totally right. I give them one final day to right their wrongs and end this 6-day nightmare. We get to calling to get a status on the car to see if they put it in the shop. And they gave some bullshit reason why it's not. Like, we're waiting for an opening at the repair place or some dumbass shit. So you know that pissed me off. So my wife get to spam calling them and just like some shady slime balls they don't answer. So with me seeing this shadiness going on, I came up with a plan that would be fair for both sides. Even though they didn't deserve any type of fairness, what I wanted them to do was just release the car to me, as is for the $3,600 that I already put down. They don't have to fix a thing because it obviously went nowhere the last time they tried, and I didn't want to play these games with them. Mind you, all this shit is happening within a 5 or 6 day span. I didn't want them trying to say they aren't financially liable for it anymore, and they try to finesse their way into making me pay the rest of the $3,000. I actually thought about going the lawyer route and suing the bastards because, you know, Illinois has lemon laws that protect car buyers. I actually tried to get in contact with a law firm, but they never followed up with me, so I said fuck it, chalked it up to it being a L I was going to have to deal with on my own. But I did not want to get into his trap by getting another car off his lot like he suggested, because I already knew all his cars were fucking garbage. His whole inventory are cars bought from auctions, and his crooked ass just sells them as is without doing any inspections. I figured I can just resale the Ford on Marketplace and get my money right back that way. Long story short, they actually agreed to that plan. It took some teeth pulling and pulling up on them, but they agreed. I had them put that shit in writing and all. I just had to wait for the title, which took a week to get here from Wisconsin. I don't know why the hell he didn't already have it, but I ended up getting it. So now here we are today with a lemon-ass Ford Escape. I know I told you all I was going to put it on Facebook Marketplace to try to get my money back. I actually did post it, but I only got like one serious inquiry. Everything else was pretty much that bot-ass, hey, is this still available? BS. I didn't even post it for the $3,600 that I spent either. I did a little less. I let it be known in the post that the car was a mechanic special because I didn't really have it in my heart to try to finesse an innocent soul by saying nothing was wrong with it. And I felt like anybody half smart would just run the VN or come with a mechanic, then I'll just get exposed. So ultimately I just took it off Facebook. But Lanky, what about your money? Okay, so this is going to sound crazy to a lot of you, but here's the play. I'm keeping the car and I'm going to replace the engine. I know those engines for those escapes are all ticking time bombs, and I sound like a fool, but hear me out. At the time of me making this video, the car has 129,000 miles on it, and like I mentioned before, the condition of this car is great. Instead of selling this car for the money, I'm going to use this car to make me money. What I want to do is get the engine replaced and put the car on the platform Turo. For those who don't know what Turo is, it's a rideshare app that lets people like you and me rent out personal vehicles. I really would like to get back the $3,600 I put down on it and however much it's going to cost for an engine replacement. Oh, and of course even more money after that. You guys can let me know if this is a dumbass idea in the comments. From my research, it seems there is a mixed consensus on Turo, with the majority leaning more towards saying fuck the app. But I really would like to see for myself. It seems like it'd be low risk, high reward type of thing for me personally, since I owe zero on the car and have zero emotional attachment to it besides disappointment. I have a plan which I will tell you all more about in the next video. But before I go, I have to turn that experience with this car I had into an opportunity to teach you guys real quick. So number one, if you're in the Chicagoland area, don't ever buy a car on Western Avenue in the city. The dealer where I got the Jeep from, let it be known that every dealer on that strip are crooks, and it's evident. They prey on desperate car buyers in the black community. Number 2, when you are getting a used car, try to bring a mechanic, or at least someone who has mechanical knowledge of cars. If you don't know shit about cars, you are liable to become a victim. Number 3, don't be like my dumbass and do an OBD reading after you done already put pen to paper. Do it before. And make sure you do a good, thorough test drive and let the car run a little while after the drive to make sure everything checks out while it's idle. And number 4, don't be fooled by looks. I was so caught up with it being a 2018 and its condition, I ignored the fact that it was a damn Ford. Kinda like when you try to wife a hoe. You may like how she looks physically, but her reputation precedes herself. To be honest, however, most Ford cars look mid anyway. If I were to go out my way to get one, it would be for a pickup truck like the Raptor. But my God, Ford need their asses whipped. Like seriously, how can you sell cars with design-flawed engines? And it's not even like it's a minor flaw, it's a flaw that'll cost you thousands to repair or replace. And what blows me is how many of these specific escapes I see on the road daily. Like, do you guys know you're legit at the mercy of that car's engine? Like, it's not even a matter of if, it's when. It's insane. But I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. Hope you guys stay with me on this Turo journey I plan to take with this car. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a wild ride. So with that being said, hope to see you guys in the next one.